Jeffrey Epstein case is persistently mischaracterized by the public, the courts, and the media as a mere criminal scandal, a story of a bad man doing bad things. It is not. It is the ultimate fatal bug in our existing societal operating system of ownership and accumulation. Jeffrey Epstein was not a Frankenstein monster created by accident. He was a top-tier extortion operating system. He systematically patched together the lower halves, the baseline, unvarnished desires of the global elite to control a monstrous, impenetrable network of vested interests. We are going to examine the exact source code of that network today.
But you are deliberately stripping the humanity, the victims, and the profound real-world tragedy from what is fundamentally a horrific tale of organized crime. I mean, deep-seated corruption and the eventual, albeit agonizingly slow, awakening of justice. We are discussing a powerful financial manager who utilized his vast resources to operate a predatory criminal enterprise. The public rightfully views this as a scandal because it represents a localized failure of human morality and local law enforcement. It is a failure that, while deeply entrenched for decades, is currently being corrected through the relentless pursuit of justice, the bravery of victim testimonies, and the mandated transparency of the federal courts.
I will demonstrate that the current system of extreme wealth accumulation is an irreparable bug that literally and physically consumes human survival rights to function. Epstein's network was not a deviation from our economic system. It was the purest, most highly optimized execution of its underlying logic.
And I will argue that this is a localized, mechanical failure of justice. We are witnessing the historical footprint of a master manipulator whose crimes were prolonged by sophisticated evasion tactics and the blatant abuse of immense wealth, not some baked-in structural requirement of modern society. Legal accountability and public transparency are the precise mechanisms that will permanently dismantle this anomaly.
Examine the actual physical mechanics of his daily operation. Epstein was not functioning as a human being in the traditional power structure. He operated as a parasitic device. He was a highly efficient router for human trafficking. The current operating system of accumulation allowed him to bypass normal wealth generation entirely. He hacked the printing press of authority itself. Look directly at the empirical evidence of his relationship with Les Wexner, the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret. Epstein did not build a retail empire. Yet he was granted absolute power of attorney and unhindered physical access to Wexner's vast assets. He wielded another man's financial empire as if it were his own personal checking account, acquiring a $71 million Manhattan townhouse for exactly $0. He didn't hoard cash for the sake of buying luxury goods. He hoarded logs into a structural maintenance cost to keep his extortion system immune from prosecution.
We have to look at the psychological and social reality of how he built that specific network of influence. He lured prominent figures with the meticulously crafted illusion of a highly successful billionaire's portfolio. He possessed charming conversational skills through lavish dinner parties and presented himself as a sophisticated, avant-garde financial mind who could solve complex tax problems for the ultra-rich. The victims were normal people, young women and teenagers from ordinary, often economically disadvantaged suburbs who were caught by an apex predator posing as a gateway to modeling or educational opportunities. The longevity of his crimes wasn't a feature of an operating system. It was due to his highly conventional, albeit aggressive methods of hiding in plain sight. He utilized ironclad non-disclosure agreements, deployed expensive, aggressive legal teams to intimidate witnesses, and used the sheer gravity of his wealth to silence normal people who simply lacked the financial resources to fight a protracted legal battle against a billionaire's fortress. I mean, he threw these lavish dinner parties and built a social gravity that,
Framing him as a charming conversationalist completely misdiagnoses the foundational attraction. Scientists, politicians, and royalty did not flock to Epstein's townhouse or board his private planes because he was a good host or offered clever tax advice. He offered a VIP room of extraterritoriality. He was an evil Amazon offering the same-day delivery of victims as logistical products. His private island in the Caribbean and his customized Boeing 727 were not luxury status symbols, they were extraterritorial hardware, physical manifestations of a designated space where ethical and legal costs were artificially reduced to zero. He functioned as a dark concierge. He was a human dark web browser, managing a direct, untraceable line for elite desires, binding the most powerful men in the world in a permanent complicity loan.
That fundamentally misreads the motivations of the vast majority of people who interacted with him. It portrays the world's most prominent figures as entirely transactional sociopaths from the moment they met him. Many scientists, politicians, and business leaders were drawn to him simply because of the exclusive elite network he'd already built. It became a self-perpetuating status symbol to be invited to his Manhattan townhouse gatherings or to visit the island. They genuinely believed they were participating in high-level intellectual salons or securing vital philanthropic funding for global health and science initiatives. A researcher trying to cure a disease will take a meeting with a billionaire who promises funding. They were manipulated by a man who knew exactly how to leverage their legitimate professional ambition and their personal vanity. You can't just discount that human element when
the expansion of his network was not a collection of innocent status symbols or professional networking events. It was a required initiation ceremony into a complicity mafia. Entering that island, boarding that plane, was a permanent subscription to a blackmail apparatus. He provided capital to desperate scientists, strategic connections to aspiring politicians, and underage victims to billionaires. In exchange, he monopolized the ultimate global commodity, the guaranteed silence of an environment where the law was physically deactivated. When a head of state or a corporate titan steps into a highly surveyed space where their most destructive, illegal impulses are recorded and stored, they are taking out a permanent loan where their autonomy and their soul are the collateral.
The horrific reality that we cannot lose sight of is the actual pain of the victims. These were normal citizens who lacked any structural defense against an operation of this magnitude and funding. The defining historical question of this case is how this predatory environment went on for so many decades without local or federal law enforcement dismantling it. Look at the 2008 investigation in Florida. The police gathered the evidence, they had the victims ready to testify. The failure to properly prosecute him then was a tragedy of institutional blindness and the overwhelming pressure of high-priced defense attorneys. Epstein deployed an unprecedented legal team, including Alan Dershowitz and Ken Starr, to secure a secret non-prosecution agreement from U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta. That 14-page document, which immunized unnamed co-conspirators, is a grotesque perversion of the legal process. But it is a mechanical failure of the justice system's ability to handle the onslaught of billionaire resources. It is not an official conspiracy of silence where every local officer was handed a bribe to pause the law. It's a localized failure of...
Do not refer to the victims as normal people in the context of how this structure viewed them. Within this operating system, they were defined entirely as disposable parts. They were biofuel drafted and consumed to run the engine of elite power. The physical and mental wear inflicted upon these individuals was the actual tangible currency used to settle the complicity between the powerful. There was no institutional blindness in Florida or anywhere else. It was an official bug with cheat codes provided directly to the administrators. Law enforcement, the referees of your supposed justice system, were given special tickets. They received the direct dividends of looking the other way, whether through campaign contributions to local sheriffs, institutional funding, or the coercion of career advancement. The 2008 non-prosecution agreement you cite was not a mechanical failure. It was the system functioning exactly as it was designed to function.
prosecutors are human beings susceptible to deception, career risk, and the overwhelming, intimidating pressure of a scorched earth legal defense. Acosta himself claimed he was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. Whether that was true or just a convenient excuse, it shows a system buckling under pressure, not a system designed to traffic children. It shows human weakness in the face of
The system consumes the weak to protect the strong. You're attempting to frame the systematic, physical destruction of human life as a mere procedural error in a courtroom. The vulnerable demographics targeted by his logistics network were intentionally selected precisely because they lacked legal and economic firewalls. Their despair was monetized to create a soundproof room for the privileged class. Their futures were shredded like classified documents behind a luxury hotel to physically erase the liabilities of the elite. This is systematic pillaging, organized at the highest levels of capital, to use the screams of the weak as physical soundproofing material for the powerful.
Let's consider the academics who are involved, because it completely contradicts this idea of a unified complicity mafia. Look at the 2006 Gravity Conference on St. Thomas. Figures like Stephen Hawking, Lawrence Krauss, and numerous Nobel laureates attended. These are people who represent the highest aspirations of human intellect. It is abundantly clear from the historical record that they were there strictly for research funding. An astrophysicist seeking millions of dollars for theoretical research into the origins of the universe is not looking to participate in an extortion ring. They discussed gravity, they discussed the cosmos, they attended barbecues funded by a man claiming to be a science philanthropist. Epstein ruthlessly exploited their constant, desperate need for academic capital to legitimize his horrific operation to the outside world. They were just looking for regular academic funding. And
Stephen Hawking, the highest intellect of humanity, was bulk bought by Epstein as a logical bulletproof vest. He was the ultimate top-tier deodorant sprayed over a rotting garbage dump. Epstein needed to physically launder the island. He had to transform it from a pervert's den into the forefront of global knowledge. The intellect of these academic giants was purchased at a massive discount to serve as a protective wall to silence the screams of the victims.
to suggest that the world's leading scientific minds are nothing more than purchased camouflage ignores the grim reality of how academic funding operates in the modern era. These scientists are forced to court private wealth. They were deceived by a facade. They were utilized as pawns, certainly, but their presence does not mean science itself was complicit, or that they were actively participating in this operating system of blackmail. Epstein used their legitimate pursuit of knowledge to build a shield of respectability, so that when people looked at him, they saw a benefactor of physics, not a predator. You are stripping away their agency.
The academic conferences were the highest grade of camouflage gear meant to obscure the physical consumption of human bodies happening adjacent to them. The intelligence of these individuals was weaponized as a buffer. When a predator can point to a Nobel laureate in a wheelchair and say, "Look at the minds gathered here, the shield is complete," it was an entirely rational forgery. He bought the brand of intellectual supremacy to coat his crimes. They were reduced to components, literal signboards for a man who used the sanctuary of scientific progress to establish a zone completely impervious to investigation. The fact that the scientists were desperate for funding only proves that the system requires the subjugation of even the highest intellects to the owners of capital.
We are finally seeing the permanent collapse of that zone, which disproves your theory of an invincible operating system. Look at the current reality. The ongoing release of the Epstein documents, the unsealing of the flight logs from the Virginia Giuffre defamation lawsuit, the deposition transcripts. This represents a tangible, undeniable awakening of justice. It is the legal system painstakingly dismantling the Stark network. It is exposing those who participated, stripping them of their anonymity, and proving that no one, no matter how wealthy or connected, can permanently escape the light of transparency. When a federal appellate court orders those names unsealed, it destroys the leverage of the blackmail. This process is precisely how a democratic society heals, corrects its errors, and prevents a predator from holding power from beyond the grave. Exposing the truth physically dismantles.
You are confusing an OS update with justice. The document drops you are celebrating are mere inventory clearance. It is defragging. It is cache deletion. The unredacted client list is a non-deteriorating Bitcoin. The value of that list skyrocketed the moment Epstein died, because the ultimate non-disclosure agreement is a corpse. Epstein's death was not a store closure. It was a seamless transition to an automated vending machine. The elites now drop coins, whether political capital or blind loyalty, into this machine to dispense scandal bombs on their political rivals.
That is an incredibly cynical and inaccurate view of a vital, victim-driven legal process. The federal courts are unsealing these documents because the victims and investigative journalists aggressively sued for transparency, not because of some shadowy elite power transition. The public release of these names physically strips the power away from whoever holds the remaining blackmail material. It destroys the leverage entirely. When the secrets are public, they can no longer be used to extort politicians, scientists, or business leaders. It is the definitive structural end of the extortion network. You can't just dismiss the legal victories of...
The public release of carefully curated names is a deliberate smokescreen. It is designed to fixate the public on the trivia game of who went to the island, while intentionally diverting all attention away from the source code of the domination structure itself. The editors of that list are manipulating the timing of these releases to control corporate stock prices and political elections. The victim's dignity is ground down all over again, consumed repeatedly as political performance art for the masses. The system is simply refining rotting meat into biofuels for the power the limousines of the privileged class.
If we abandon the fundamental hope that exposing these dark secrets will eventually heal the system, we surrender to the darkness entirely. We must cling to the restoration of societal balance. By prosecuting the enablers like Ghislaine Maxwell, reforming the institutions that look the other way, and financially supporting the survivors, we can ensure this localized failure never replicates itself. Transparency, persistent legal accountability, and human morality are the only tools we have to rebuild the integrity of our society. If we lose faith in that process, we lose.
Epstein's ultimate goal was the hardwareization of omnipotence. He sought to become a physical god by capturing the root authority of the world's operating system. By monopolizing the weaknesses of the powerful, he attempted to secure the permanent editorial rights to history itself. The security system known as complicity, which he perfected, still physically drives the deepest parts of global power today, long after his death. The existing operating system of ownership and accumulation is an irreparable, fatal bug. It will inevitably collapse because it physically consumes its own foundation, human life, to maintain its architecture. Therefore, a complete systemic override is required. The transition to the logic of circular capitalism, an economic and social architecture where wealth, influence, and resources cannot physically be hoarded in opaque black boxes, but are forced to continuously circulate in full public visibility, is not a moral choice. It is the only rational investment for survival.